the Director of the Animal Defenders Office, Mike Rosalky. Now, Mike volunteers as a lawyer and director at the Animal Defenders Office, ADO, where he's involved in setting the strategic direction of the ADO, managing ADO projects, working with and advising clients as well, and providing legal information to animal welfare organisations, among other things. Mike is an avid advocate for animal interests. His passion was formed from learning about the horrific suffering animals must endure to satisfy unnecessary human desires. So please welcome our final speaker of the night, Mike.
Good evening. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet, pay my respects to their elders past and present, and extend that respect to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here tonight. My name's Mike Rosalky. As mentioned, I volunteer as a lawyer and director for the Animal Defenders Office, an animal law community legal centre here in the ACT, and I'm very grateful to the RSPCA for inviting me here to share my vision of animal welfare in the ACT over the next 60 years. And it's been great to hear so many fantastic presentations this morning, so thank you to the other speakers. This evening I will argue that over the next 60 years, the ACT should make legislative reform to expressly protect the interests of higher vertebrates. That is, the ACT should recognise and protect all sentient, non-human animals' interests in avoiding suffering and avoiding death. The laws governing animal welfare are primarily found in state and territory legislation. In the ACT, that's the Animal Welfare Act. Now, it must be said that the Animal Welfare Act provides significantly greater protections than in many other Australian jurisdictions. And I applaud multiple ACT governments for their role in protecting ACT animals. For example, the Animal Welfare Act outlaws farrowing crates and sow stalls for pigs, battery cages for chickens, the debeaking of chickens, and rodeos. And we can thank Mr. Rattenbury here for his significant role as the relevant minister in protecting animals in the ACT. However, the Animal Welfare Act could be significantly improved. Under ACT legislation, animal interests are largely ignored. Even corporations have legal personhood and their basic interests are protected. But animals are not so lucky. However, certain animals absolutely deserve for their basic interests to be protected. Because unequivocally, higher vertebrates such as pigs, cows, dogs, chickens and sheep can feel physical pain in virtually an identical manner to humans and have a high cognitive capacity to varying extents of suffering emotional distress. This has been demonstrated through empirical research and is beyond dispute. These animals are sentient because they undeniably have the ability to perceive and feel things. So what interests am I talking about protecting? Am I talking about protecting the interests of a cow in being able to go to the polling booth and vote for, well, anyone other than Barnaby Joyce, really? Or how about the interests of a pig in obtaining its driver's licence so it can do burnouts in a puddle of mud? What about protecting the interest in a dog so that it can receive a fair trial for stealing a packet of schmackos? We all know the dog's guilty. If these scenarios sound ridiculous, it's because they are. I do not subscribe to an anthropomorphic view of animals. I am talking about protecting interests suitable and appropriate for all sentient non-human animals. The interest in avoiding suffering and the interest in avoiding death. The science is clear. These interests are universal to higher vertebrates than animals, and we exploit the power imbalance. It is convenient for humans to eat eggs. So our laws allow this type of treatment of chickens. Years of evolution, higher vertebrates have developed strong desires to avoid suffering and avoid death. They are capable of sensing their environment through their complex central nervous systems. And they have evolved to experience emotions such as fear and grief. And indeed, their very survival as individuals and as species depends on them wanting to avoid suffering and wanting to avoid death. So, of course, they have an interest in avoiding suffering, and of course, they have an interest to avoid death because they have evolved this way. So, why do we, as compassionate Canberrans, allow laws which facilitate significant cruelty to be inflicted on sentient non-human animals? And why do we accept that it's okay for our laws to discriminate based on species? Is it more okay to cull kangaroos because their grazing is considered inconvenient? More so than it would be to cull pet dogs because they give some people allergies. In their ability to suffer, a kangaroo is a pig, is a dog, is a human. The discriminatory parallels between our current laws and the laws which govern the slave trade are striking. During the slave trade, certain humans were considered property. They were considered property based on the arbitrary attribute of race, and a lot of them suffered incredibly because of this. Our current laws define certain animals to be property based on the arbitrary attribute of species, and a lot of them are treated horrifically as a result. And while the higher vertebrates, which we exploit, enslave, and discriminate against, do not speak our language, they absolutely communicate. They cry in pain and they scream in terror. But we don't listen. Because these animals do not speak our language, we disregard their suffering because it is convenient to do so. Most people were outraged at the recent shooting of Cecil the lion. Yet we pay others to do far worse things to the animals that end up in our plates and as our shoes. Is satisfying our taste buds really a reason to allow this? If this was a pet dog, the answer would be a resounding no. Yet this pig has the same interest in avoiding suffering and avoiding death as a pet dog. So why is it okay to care for one and disregard another? In conclusion, my vision for animal welfare in the ACT over the next 60 years is for our laws to protect the basic interests of all sentient non-human animals by recognising that all of these animals have the same interest in avoiding suffering and avoiding death. This is Canberra. Oh no, sorry, that's the Skyway. This is Canberra. A compassionate and progressive society. Yet there's incongruence between these societal values and our laws which govern animals. In our treatment of animals, our society fails many species miserably. But we can create positive change, and our society will evolve. It was once outrageous to say that Aborigines' interests should be protected. And of course now we know it's outrageous to say that their interests should not be protected. And I have no doubt that we will make a change. With intelligent, compassionate and committed people such as those in the audience tonight, there will come a day when the interests of animals, of sentient non-human animals, are protected by law and they are no longer shockingly exploited and slaughtered to satisfy human desires. And to quote Margaret Mead, never doubt that a small group of committed, thoughtful citizens can change the world. Indeed, it was the only thing that ever has. Thank you for listening.